Hi, I'm Dr. Allison Cole, sleep medicine specialist and bona fide chronic insomniac. Welcome to the Sleep is My Waking Passion podcast. Remember, knowledge is empowerment, and if applied correctly, it can help you biohack your way to a better night of sleep, just like I did.
And welcome to another episode of the Sleep is My Waking Passion podcast. So I have a really cool return guest. I have Ms. Jemma Munford, and she is basically a toddler sleep expert who is really helping to shape the way we are helping our toddlers sleep better. She had joined us and she gave us some really good, useful tidbits of information. She was on season 4, episode 8. So you can go back in time and see that. And Jemma, you were so gracious with your time at that time. We had talked really about your approach, which is, hey, we need to train the parents. This isn't really about sleep training for kiddos. This is really about adjusting parental expectations and also working with them to find a way to gently kind of deal sometimes with the real challenges that we all can have with toddler sleep. And you also pointed out a couple really neat things that I want people to think about checking out, which is, what do you do if your toddler wakes up in the middle of the night and is going to be up for a while? Well, you described as split nights. You mentioned what happens if your toddler seems to be doing okay and then they regress a bit, like that, some approaches for that. Such a great conversation we had last time. And I always follow your social media, and you had commented that you had this online program and people could sign up for it. Why don't I start by saying, welcome, Jemma, and welcome back to the program. We're going to offer some more tidbits. You have some really interesting approaches that I wanted to get into. But why don't you start by sharing with everyone, this evolution into this online program, and tell people about it and, why it's so important for them to consider working with you.
Sure.
They're struggling.
The introduction. We did have a great chat last time, didn't we? So I'm glad those tips were practical and useful, and hopefully lots of parents are finding that. So I've been working in the sleep field for a long time now, and I've really niched down into this toddler age group. So the ages of between about 12 months and 3. That's my favourite age to work on sleep. So it's definitely, I think, a bit more easy to make changes than with a younger baby. It's a naturally more challenging time with all the developments you're having into like the toddler tantrums and the phase where they're definitely coming into their own little personalities, right? And that in itself is a big shift in your, how you're going to approach your parenting. So I love working with toddlers, and that's really where my niche is nowadays. This program, the Taming Toddler Sleep program, came about because historically I'd worked with clients in a one-to-one format for a kind of a specific amount of time, say 4 weeks. And what I solved in my own mind after working with families for so long was actually sometimes that intense period of time is not kind of last forever, right? We know that children develop all the time, and the amount that they change and grow and the changes in the brain and the physical changes happen so frequently in the first few years that actually sometimes you get to the point where sleep is great and then things go a bit wonky again, and then things improve and then things go wonky. And I find in this toddler age group between 1 and 3, that happens reasonably frequently. We've got speech coming in, we've got the mastering walking, running, jumping, toilet training, various nap transitions. It's a huge amount of change in 2 years' time. So what I wanted to do was support parents in that journey. So be there on hand for a longer period of time than just those little snippets of a month here and there, because I feel that's a hugely important period for your child and getting to grips with how you parent them. So just giving people more ongoing support for those times where things get a bit more difficult. That's how I work with the families in the group. It's a group coaching program, so it's very community based, and there's a mixture of 2 coaching calls per week where I'm on a video call and people can just log in and say, Jem, I need your help, this is going on and we're finding this difficult today, what can we do? And I support them through that. And then also we've got a Facebook group where we've got all the parents in the group offering moral support, sharing what's worked for them. So there's different elements from that as well, which is amazing. It's such a lovely group. And also I've created a bank of on-demand content, which Alison, you've managed to have a look through, which parents can refer to get an idea of what's going on in their child. So it covers things like brain development, sleep needs, and as they change over that 2-year period, but also things like managing toddler tantrums and challenging behaviour. So people can look at that whenever they need to over that the time of that 2-year period. So I'm really proud of it. It's had some amazing life-changing results for the families that are in the group. It's been a really wonderful first year to it. Yeah, thank you.
I love the fact that people can come back to it. So if they're like, oh, I remember reading that, but now that's becoming more of an active issue. And even though it's really sleep adjacent, it's all part of the developmental process. You do also, for me, I can tell you, especially with my youngest, getting that girl to potty train. That was an interesting, it is true. The longer I fear that she will be in college and not potty. They say they're like, she's going to figure it out. But it took a very long time. And I wish that there was a program, because I read books and I tried all this stuff, and it was just this ridiculously overpriced toy that she really wanted. That seemed to do it. And we all pitched in and got it for her. And, she barely plays with it anymore. But it had good, significant meetings. So very, very good work you're doing. One of the things that you highlighted is that you have an approach called the DNA method. And I was like, what's this all about? So take it away. Tell us what this method is.
Sure. So really simply, it's the order that I do things in. I'm trying our best to just do the easiest things first. You've got tired parents. The last thing we want to do is go gung-ho into the really difficult challenges, because as you know, there are often little tiny tweaks that we can do that make things easier, quicker. So I always go through a set order of problems and challenges that makes it easier for the parents to cope with. So the D part of DNA is that we work on daytime stuff first. So we'll look at routines, timings. Is the nap at the right time of the day? Are they napping too long, not long enough? Is the sleep pressure balanced across the day? Are we regulating the circadian rhythm well? And we look at the routine, so it's part of the daytime approach. What we also look at are meeting our child's sensory needs. So what works for that child, because that's different for different children. So we'll build that into our daytime approach too. And those things are usually pretty easy to kind of make some changes. And you often see an improvement just from working on the D bit. The N bit is the nighttime stuff. So when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about an amazing bedtime routine. And again, even just changing up the order you do things in your bedtime routine can make such a difference. So we look at how you structure your evening. So, if they've been at daycare and you've been at work, how we work on things like connection, getting rid of excess energy, and coming back together as a family and spending some nice time together. So that's the end part of the night part of the process. And then we work on sleep associations, like how we're getting our child to sleep. Whilst feeding to sleep and rocking to sleep is not a problem, I'm all for it. If that parent wants to do that, I'm definitely on board with keeping that. But I do find that when you're in the toddler age, that lots of parents are kind of like, oh, no, actually, I do want to kind of stop feeding to sleep now. And physically rocking them or holding to sleep is actually getting really tricky now, because obviously they're much longer and starting to get much heavier. So that's not always as practical in that toddler age. So then we work on the sleep associations last, because that's one of the things that the other two, if you've got those right, then the sleep associations are easier to change when you've got your lovely bedtime routine working well and that the timing's working well. So the DNA method is just going through those steps, which will be different for each family. It's definitely not one size fits all, but it's that high level kind of process that we go through with each family to make things as easy as possible and just do the easy wins first.
That's such a logical approach too, because we know just from our own behavior, if we've got a mountain, a huge project, even as you develop this, you didn't start with oh my God, this is like this giant program on which I mean, that would feel so overwhelming. So you break it down into steps and you sort of build it. And so, yes, you have to have that construct, but it's sort of like taking one foot in front of the other, doing one thing at a time.
Yeah.
I want to give you a compliment. I do want to pivot a second because I want to mention the nighttime routine. And this is for anyone, if there's anybody listening who actually has folks that come and talk to them about their sleep issues and they do have toddlers. True story, I was seeing an adult patient for adult patient things, okay? But she happened to have toddlers. And one of the things she was struggling with was a bit that nighttime routine.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned from you specifically was, hey, you may not want to really emphasize the bath right before bed because that may have the opposite effect as it does in an adult and be more stimulating. Kids want to play. And so that's one of the things I suggested was I said, I love that you're, giving your child a bath, but let's move that up. Let's not move that right before bed. And I learned that from you, Jemma.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm actually applying it to my patients because even if you're out there seeing adult patients, they may have questions and you'd be able to point them in Jemma's direction if that's something of interest to them. Or if they're sort of like, okay, I just want to ask my doctor and get your opinion. Now you have a little nugget of truth that you can pop in your brain that would be really, really helpful. And it's something I think about also too with my kids is I notice they're better if I'm not giving them a bath right before bed. They're older now, obviously they're out of their toddler age, but they still, it's like now they want to swim.
Yeah.
In the tub. Now it's like, and then I'm like, please do not flood my floor. That's all I ask. Don't flood my floor. I have to have like 4 towels down. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Baths are no longer relaxing once you're out of that kind of, once they're beyond about 6 or 7 months, they stop being relaxing and they're definitely more stimulating. And what I would say is if you're bathing your toddler and bedtime is going great, that's fine. If it's working, please do not feel like you need to change it just because we're having this conversation. But I have so many conversations with parents who are like, they get out of the bath and they're having a great time and then all of a sudden they lose their heads and they're kind of running around the bedroom naked and I'm trying to chase after them and get them changed. But obviously that's not going to work great for trying to get them to sleep in the next 10 minutes. So that is, and I'm glad you've been able to share that with some of your clients. It's great.
You've made me smarter, so I appreciate it. I wanted to ask you if there were any other sort of common things, in the evolution of your program and kind of focusing on, quote, parent training. Any other things you want parents to listen to this and learn from you that might pique their interest in your program and also just give them a little bit more confidence going in to their own toddler routines as they sort of struggle and slog through the immense sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
Which I forgot about and got a puppy, so now I know.
Yes. Oh, gosh. Yeah, you're a better woman than I am. I'm not ready for that.
And now, a quick break. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Whether you need a comprehensive sleeping coach program, suspect you have sleep apnea, or simply seek a second opinion, she's available for consultations in New Jersey, New York, California, and Georgia, with more states coming soon. Schedule your free 15-minute consultation today to find out which visit is right for you at AskTheSleepMD.com and start your journey to better sleep with a trusted physician.
If you are liking this podcast, if you're finding it educational, if you are feeling more empowered to go to your doctor with any sleep issues that you might be having to address them, please, please, please lend your support. Make sure that you are liking, following, subscribing. I am available on YouTube. I'm also on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. The website has launched. So we have AskTheSleepMD.com to be your free educational resource. We've added many new blog posts filled with juicy information. If you would like to support the podcast, we now have a way for you to donate. This is a labor of love. I truly enjoy what I am doing. It would be inspiring and truly helpful if you wouldn't mind even so much as donating $1 to keep this podcast going, particularly if you really find this free education a good platform for you.
you and a good resource for you. I also have affiliate links for products that I'm a proponent of, such as Quiet Mind. So please check out the website, sign up, and you will get the latest news, the latest blogs, some sleep tips, and just have a great day and keep listening. Okay, guys, sleep well.
Yeah, what I would say is for all those tired toddler parents out there, give yourself some kindness because, you've gone back to work, your children are not sleeping, and perhaps they were sleeping as babies, but now you're in the toddler phase and actually sleep has gone wrong again. When you're working and balancing that life as well as parenting, it is really difficult and it's really hard to see some clarity in all this. So don't be ashamed at coming asking an expert to help you because you're so in it, you're so in the trenches that you can't be expected to see the solution. This program's been amazing because of course I had the core content there. I knew what would help these parents join when they joined the program, but I had a really wonderful set of parents join my beta back in January, and I said to them, look, I'm going to do the core stuff, but whatever comes up for you guys, please help me, and then I can use that to shape how the program moves forward. So exactly as you say, I didn't start out with this huge bank of content there. This has been developed. I wanted to make sure that before I launched this program, which I knew could be amazing, that I wanted to make sure that what was in my mind was actually working on paper for people. So I had a fabulous group of 12 parents come and join me at the start, and I used their feedback to change the way I explain things, include extra things that helped them get the most from working with me. So, I know that content is amazing content now, and it's a lot of what I find people get the most benefit from is not necessarily just that their child gets more sleep. Of course, that is the priority. That's why people join. And 100% of people have got better sleep within the first 6 weeks of the program. What they see as the long-term benefit is the confidence that they have in their parenting approach. So what we talk about an awful lot in this is your own mindset, self-care, and saying that to people who are really tired, who don't feel like they've got a minute to themselves is just too overwhelming. But what we do is we break it down into manageable chunks. And the coaching that they go through with me, they reprioritize that in their minds because you know what it's like, Alison, you have children, you end up feeling like you're the bottom of the pile, that everybody else's needs are ahead of yours. But actually, that can't work like that when you're a parent. You need to focus on yourself and looking after yourself and seeing you as a priority to then give your child what they need. And that is a big mental shift in my clients going through the program.
So sort of like letting go of the guilt of making yourself a higher priority. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Definitely.
The crux of it, like what emotion are you feeling? And I think, you have to fill with your cup so that you have that you can then give your cup to others. But if your cup is constantly runneth empty, there's no more left for anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think what the program does, I don't give people more time than they ever had. What we do is we find ways that they can find little pockets of self-care, manageable pockets that all build up to them feeling much better. But also what helps that is the relief of having to not think about every aspect of sleep, to have someone like me say, this is what you need to do. Forget reading Google at 3 a.m. or, Googling your problem and finding 15 different answers. I tailor the approach to help my clients give them the easiest path to success because I know more about them. So even that, letting go of the ownership of needing to change all the sleep and understand it all, I take that away because I just tell them what to do. And the relief that comes from that is helpful for them.
I love that. What I want to know from you, if you had any examples of self-care that you tend to emphasize, or there's some universal principles that you often encourage people to do, you think have really been meaningful to improve their quality of life and kind of really sort of reset their brain that this is important for them to do?
Yeah. Well, firstly, it's the It's just giving yourself permission to stop sometimes. It's okay to stop. So, you know what it's like? You've got a busy house, you're working, your kids are in daycare, you don't get to spend loads of time together because you've got so much to do. Life is busy. You've got the house jobs, the shopping, the cleaning, the life admin. And we very easily fall into the trap of being sleep deprived because our toddlers don't sleep, physically tired because they're so on the go all the time, being toddlers. And if we get 5 minutes opportunity, what we do is we fill that with doing jobs. We'll load the dishwasher, we'll try and get to the bottom of the laundry basket, all these things that are on our never-ending to-do list. And what I say to parents is, when you are exhausted, if you have 10 minutes, sit down. Just don't do anything. Make yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, sit down, read a chapter of a book, sit and stare into space. Do something that is restful rather than prioritizing a life job, because 10 minutes of laundry is not going to make any difference. 10 minutes of cleaning the house is not going to make any difference to your life. What will make a difference is bringing some rest. And the other great tip, which somebody said was life-changing for them, was eat before you start the bedtime routine. So don't go into the bedtime routine.
Oh, that's a good one.
Hungry, because you need to meet your basic needs ahead of something that might take time or something that you need to have patience and calm to do. And you're not going to be able to be patient or calm if you're hungry or you're thirsty, your basic needs haven't been met. So that was another tip that I was told was quite life-changing. Don't do bedtime hungry. Really simple. We don't want to be hungry as parents, do we?
Are there any activities, like I would think one of the things that I found helpful when my husband and I could actually take the kids because they were kind of toddling at the same time, take the kids for a walk.
Yes.
And it was family time, but it was also good for us to have movement in our lives.
Yes.
Are there any activities that you may suggest that would allow parents to actually feel like, maybe I'm getting a little bit of exercise too?
Yeah, movement is a great way of completing stress cycles, and it's definitely worth any parents that are listening to this researching stress cycles and ways to complete them. So modern life is really stressful. We've got financial challenges, there's war in the world, there's no proverbial village to support parents, work is difficult, there's a lot of pressure. Actually, what we need to really focus on some more is completing stress cycles. So this is going to help your mental health generally, even if you're not a parent. And there's a number of ways that we can focus on these things that help stress. And one is movement, like you say. So whether that's going for a walk, what I really like to do when I'm feeling stressed is I was always a music lover before children. I used to go to Glastonbury Festival every year. I was really cool. I used to do loads of music gigs. I was really fun. I used to go to clubs all the time. Dancing was a huge part. Music was a huge part of my life, as was dancing. As a mom, you don't have opportunity to do that so much anymore. So if I'm feeling the stress of having a tricky week with the children or work or whatever, one of the things I do, I go and I've got a singing songs playlist. So it's the songs that you can't help but sing really loud to. And I make sure that I play at least 3 of them, which takes about 10 minutes. It's not a long time at all. And I'll just hop around the kitchen. I'll be listening to this, making a drink or whatever. I can't help but sing really loud or move. So that's a really great tip. So it's just some movement, and it might be dancing, it might be yoga, it might be going for a walk, it might be just doing some stretches, but all this movement helps complete those stress cycles. Connection, so affection, so touch with another human. So that might be hugging your children or your partner, making eye contact with complete strangers in the street. That's a way of us connecting. Smiling at other people, we get a smile back. That helps to complete the stress cycle. Creativity, a lot of people are doing colouring, like, the mindful colouring. Yeah, stuff like that. There's a real movement towards that. I'm very excited because I've just signed up to a crochet along. So this is aimed at me kind of taking off the doom scrolling on my phone, which I do every evening. I work on my phone a lot, speaking to clients, and it can easily waste 2 hours of my evening just scrolling on my phone, which is not great for your mental health either, or your sleep. And I've decided that I'm going to do some crochet, so creativity, colouring, poetry, reading.
You could also set an alarm for the scrolling, and I have made it a habit for myself, because you're right. Whenever you're now switching gears from, hey, I have no time for myself because I'm in a busy clinical practice, to now I'm, kind of being part of the social media sphere. So you're you get sucked out of vortex. And there's so much fun, ridiculous stuff sometimes, even if it seems like it's AI generated or fake, that's hilarious on TikTok. So I set an alarm so that I'm like, okay, this is your particular time. And I've also made it a point where I'm like, you are not allowed to engage in your phone with that during this certain period of time.
Yes.
So I kind of, just like we would give certain parameters for our kids, like this is okay, this is not, do that for yourself too.
Absolutely.
Train yourself. I love that. Those are such great ideas.
Yeah, there's loads of other ways. So laughter, crying, all these things are really great for ways to manage our stress levels, and they're all important. So I think it's just giving yourself permission to not always be doing something, because we get out of the habit of resting, and we just run on adrenaline all the time. So that becomes your baseline then. So you have to practice learning how to stop. I get loads of families say, but if I sit down, I can't even concentrate, or if I try and have a nap, I can't because my brain's going. It's because we forget how to rest. And by practicing it for 5 minutes, you then are able to do it for 10 minutes after a week or two. And then you can do it for a bit longer than that. So it does take some practice, but it's giving yourself permission that you don't always have to be doing something or productive. That's a pretty, dangerous message that we've been sold at the moment, that you don't always need to be productive. You don't. It's not good for us.
That's a great point, because that is a universal problem. I'm here in America. I kind of feel like the American dream is to just always be on the go and always work. But it seems like it's really not just an American problem. This is sort of a universal thing that we face, this incredible need to feel like we must always be on the go, always be productive. It is certainly a cycle that is very, very challenging.
Yeah, it's the fear of missing out. And actually what we miss out by filling every second of the day is we miss out on being present. And I always say that the wonderful thing about having a baby or a toddler is that they make you slow your world down. You're doing the walk to daycare in the morning, and they want to have a stop and look at the rainbow that they can see in the puddle, or the spider dangling out you walk past, and we're frustrated. We're like, come on, we've got to go on to the next thing. But if you could just take a step back and go down to their speed, you realise you miss a lot in life. There's a lot of interesting things to see, and I think that's one really lovely thing about getting on your child's pace that you wouldn't typically see. So definitely about slowing down.
That's such a wonderful observation, because I really do feel like kids have changed me, specifically because they remind me of a part of myself that I once was like that, and I forgot about it.
Yeah.
So it's a nice reminder. It's like coming full circle in life.
Yeah.
Jemma, this has been such a fun conversation again. Guys, there's going to be a link to her program. For some people, they may only want to see her for a one-off. She offers that. She offers this comprehensive program that is going to be available for you so that you can refer back to it. It also has a whole section on potty training, which may be sleep adjacent in a way, but I think is just a really important developmental milestone. And like I mentioned, was kind of frustrating for me. So I'm so appreciative that it's not just sleep, and it's not just about your toddlers. It's about the parents, and it's about toilet training and a lot of the other challenges and developmental milestones that happen that have their own joys as well as difficulties. So thank you so much for joining me again on this program. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thanks, Alison. Yeah, we could talk forever, I'm sure. So thanks for having me back again. I appreciate it.
Disclaimer. The statements made on this podcast have not been evaluated by the U.S. Food or Drug Administration. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. The information provided by this podcast should not be used as individual medical advice. While I am a practicing sleep provider, I am not your sleep provider. You should always consult with your personal healthcare provider for individual recommendations and treatment.